गौरंगंधारी राधा विनोद बिहारी जू की जाय। श्री गोविंद गोपीनाथ मरण मोहन जू की जाय। नित्यल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपार शतर शत शिष्मार भक्ति वेदांत नारायण गोसाई महाराज श्री गुरुदेव की जाय। नित्यल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपार शतर शत शिष्मार भक्ति वेदांत वामन गोसाई महाराज की जाय। नित्यल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपार शतर शत शिष्मार भक्तिवेदांत वामन गोसाई श्री भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी महाराज श्री प्रभुपाद की जाय। नित्यल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद शतर शत शिष्मार भक्ति प्रज्ञान केशव गोसाई महाराज की जाय। नित्यल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद शतर शत शिष्मार भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोसाई प्रभुपाद की जाय। नित्यल प्रविष्ट महाभागवत श्री गौर किशोरदास बाबूजी महाराज की जाय। नित्यल प्रविष्ट श्री सच्चिदानंद भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर की जाय। नित्यल प्रविष्ट वैष्णव सार्वभौम श्री जगन्नाथ दास बाबूजी महाराज की जाय। श्री रूपानुगौरी गुरु वर्ग की जाय। श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भट्टदास रघुनाथ शार गोसाई प्रभु की जाय। श्री स्वरूप दामोदर राय रामानंदारी श्री गौर पार्षद वृंद की जाय। नाम चय श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जाय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जाय। श्री क्षेत्र मंडल गौरमंडल व्रजमंडल मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की जाय। सर्व अभिष्ट प्रदात गिरिराज महाराज की जाय। श्री राधा कुंद श्याम कुंद की जाय। श्री यमुना देवी गंगा देवी की जाय। श्री तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी की जाय। श्री भक्ति देवी की जाय। श्री पूर्णमासी योग माया की जाय। श्री गोपेश्वर महादेव की जाय। श्री हरि नाम संकीर्तन की जाय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जाय। समागत गौर भक्त वृंद की जाय। श्री निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। जय श्रील रघुनाथ दास गोस्वामी पाद की जय। तदीय शुभ तिरुभाव तिथि की जय। जय श्री रघुनाथ भट्ट गोस्वामी पाद की जय। तदीय शुभ तिरुभाव तिथि की जय। जय श्री कृष्णदास कविराज गोस्वामी पाद की जय। तदीय शुभ तिरुभाव तिथि की जय। जय श्री चतुर्मास्य व्रत की जय। व्रत पालन करी भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। Hari bol, everybody. Actually, right now I just see one person there, so Dandavat pranams to whoever that is. So, yeah, I wonder why nobody's here yet. That's interesting. Did it send in the group? I'm just checking to make sure. Yeah, it did. Okay. Everybody's just late today. So, I actually don't have any plan about what we should read. We could either read from purebhakti.com, we can see what's there by my Śrīla Gurudev, or we could go to we can go to sorry, my mind went blank. vcvani.com to see the Harikatha of Śrīla Bhaktivedanta Bharati Goswami Maharaj. Or also we have this book, Sri Caitanya and his associates. So we could read from this book by Śrīla Bhakti Ballabha Tīrtha Goswami Mahārāja. I don't know which one. Let's see if anyone has any preference. Why don't we read from this book, Sri Caitanya and his associates? Because everybody has access to purebhakti.com and vcvani.com, but not everybody has this book. So that'll be something unique. Just gonna share my screen. Oh, Krishna. Okay. Raghunātha Bhaṭṭa Gosvāmī. What order do we do it in? Let's just start with Raghunātha Bhaṭṭa Gosvāmī. Then Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī and Krishnadas Kaviraj Gosvāmī. Okay. So, Śrī Raghunātha Bhaṭṭa Gosvāmī reading from Sri Caitanya and His Associates by Śrīla Bhakti Ballabha Tīrtha Gosvāmī Mahārāja. Raghunātha Bhaṭṭa Puraya Ragamanjari Krita Shri Radhika Kunda Kutira Krita Shri Radhika Kunda Kutira Vasati Satu. That's Shri Gaur Ganodesh Tipika 185. In Krishna Lila, Raghunātha Bhaṭṭa, who made his home in a cottage by Radhakund, was Raga Manjari. Serving the Lord in Benares, in Varanasi. Haribol Kishore Krishna Prabhu. In around 1503 AD, Raghunātha Bhattacharya appeared as the son of Tapana Mishra, a dear devotee of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu who hailed from the village of Rampur on the banks of the Padma river in East Bengal. Mahaprabhu first met Tapan Mishra when he went to East Bengal. Tapan Mishra had studied many scriptures, but was still bewildered about the purpose of life and what to do to attain it. He had a dream in which he was instructed to go to Nimai Pandit, who would clarify these matters for him. When Tapan Mishra went to the Lord and told him of his dream, Nimai answered that Harinam Sankirtan was both the purpose of life and the means for attaining it, the sadhya and the sadhan. Tapan Mishra expressed his desire to come and live in Navadvip, near the Lord, but Mahaprabhu told him to go to Benares instead. Several years later, while in Benares, in Varanasi, Mahaprabhu stayed at Chandrasekhar Vaidya's house and took meals at Tapan Mishra's house. Okay, and we just read about this recently in our Chaitanya Bhagavat readings. The Lord had 3 devotees in Varanasi. One was Chandrasekhar Vaidya, another Tapan Mishra, and the third was Tapan Mishra's son Raghunātha Bhattacharya. The Lord met with them when he stopped in Kashi after visiting Vrindavan. That's from Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila, chapter 11, verses 152 to 153. Śrīla Raghunātha Bhaṭṭa Gosvāmī lived at home for about 28 years. During the 2 months that the Lord spent in Varanasi, Raghunātha Bhaṭṭa Gosvāmī had the opportunity to personally serve him and receive his mercy. Mahaprabhu stayed in the house of Chandrasekhar Vaidya for 2 months' time, daily taking his meals at Tapan Mishra's residence. Raghunath was just a boy at the time, but he served the Lord by cleaning his place after he ate and massaging his feet. When he grew up, he went to Puri to see the Lord. He stayed there for 8 months, occasionally cooking for the Lord. That's also from same chapter of Chaitanya Charitamrita, verses 154 to 156. Raghunātha Bhaṭṭa comes to Puri. Out of eagerness to see the Lord, Raghunātha Bhaṭṭa renounced all his materialistic duties and hurried to Puri after visiting Bengal. He was accompanied by a servant who carried his baggage for him. While traveling, he met a certain Ram Das Vishwas, a devotee of Lord Ram, initiated in the Ramanandi disciplic succession and very learned in the scriptures. He was traveling to Puri, renouncing his material entanglements to visit Sri Jagannath Dev. He was constantly chanting Lord Ram's name. Knowing Raghunātha Bhaṭṭa to be a Brahmana, he rendered service to him with great reverence, sometimes massaging his feet, sometimes carrying his baggage on his head. Raghunātha Bhaṭṭa Gosvāmī was somewhat embarrassed that such a rich and important man should be rendering him such menial service. But Ramdas tried to allay his doubts by saying, "I am a lowly Shudra, and you are a Brahmana. It is my duty to serve you. I feel the greatest joy in having this opportunity to serve you." When Raghunātha Bhaṭṭa Gosvāmī arrived in Puri, he prostrated himself on the ground before the feet of the Lord. The Lord lifted him up with great emotion and embraced him. He inquired after Tapan Mishra and Chandrasekhar Vaidya, and then sent him to see Lord Jagannath, telling him to come and eat with him afterwards. Mahaprabhu had Govinda make housing arrangements for Raghunātha Bhaṭṭa and introduced him to Swarup Damodar and his other associates. Haribol Vidyalalasa Didi. During the 8 months that Sri Raghunātha Bhaṭṭa Gosvāmī remained in Nilachal, he sometimes had the chance to invite Mahaprabhu for meals. He would take the opportunity to prepare delicious vegetable platters for the Lord's pleasure. He was an expert cook, and the Lord was especially satisfied by the devotional mood in which he prepared these meals. Raghunātha Bhaṭṭa was then fortunate enough to be able to take the Lord's remnants. Ram Das Vishwas also came to meet Mahaprabhu during this time, but the Lord could see through him. He saw that Ram Das harbored desires for liberation and that he was proud of his learning, and so he did not show him as much mercy as he did not show Ram Das as much mercy as he did to Raghunātha Bhaṭṭa. After Raghunātha Bhaṭṭa Gosvāmī had been in Puri for 8 months, the Lord told him to go back to Kashi and serve his aged Vaishnava parents. He also told him not to get married. The Lord then made him a gift of his own neck beads, which he placed around Raghunātha Bhaṭṭa Gosvāmī's neck, telling him to come to Puri again. Wow! Raghunātha Bhaṭṭa goes to Vrindavan. Raghunātha Bhaṭṭa Gosvāmī felt separation from Mahaprabhu and started to weep. However, as per the Lord's order, he went back to Kashi and took care of his parents for the remainder of their lives, which was another 4 years. During this time, he also studied the Bhagavat from a Vaishnava. Raghunātha Bhaṭṭa Gosvāmī had a beautiful singing voice. When he recited the Bhagavat, he would read the same verse in different tunes. This made his readings very attractive to the devotees. Haribol Pradyumna Prabhu and Mantramurti Mataji and Ganga Mataji. Pranams. So when he recited the Bhagavatam, he would read the same verse in different tunes. This made his readings very attractive to the devotees. When his parents departed from the world, he returned to Puri and stayed with Mahaprabhu. After staying with the Lord for 8 months, Mahaprabhu told him to go to Vrindavan and to stay with Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami. He told him to study the Bhagavat daily, as well as to chant the holy names. After embracing Raghunātha Bhaṭṭa, the Lord gave him a 21-foot-long tulsi garland, which had been worn by Lord Jagannath, as well as unspiced betel. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami describes Raghunātha Bhaṭṭa Goswami's voyage to Vrindavan and his life there in the Caitanya Charitamrita as follows. This is from Caitanya Charitamrita. Sorry, 1 second. Mahaprabhu said, "Study Srimad Bhagavatam and chant the names of Krishna continuously. The Supreme Lord Krishna will very soon bestow his mercy upon you." After saying this, the Lord embraced Raghunātha Bhaṭṭa Gosvāmī, who was enlivened with ecstatic love for Krishna by his mercy. At a feast, the Lord had been given some unspiced betel and a 21-foot-long garland of tulsi leaves, which had been worn by Lord Jagannath. 1 second. Which had been worn by Lord Jagannath. He gave the garland and betel to Raghunātha Bhaṭṭa, who accepted them as his worshipable deities, taking care to preserve them. Then Raghunātha Bhaṭṭa Gosvāmī took the Lord's permission and departed for Vrindavan. This is all from Caitanya Charitamrita. Everything that we're reading right now is from Antya Lila of Caitanya Charitamrita, chapter 13, verses 121 to 135, just so you know what we're reading from. So when Raghunātha Bhaṭṭa arrived in Vrindavan, he put himself under the care of Rupa Gosvāmī and Sanatana Gosvāmī. Whenever he recited the Bhagavat in their company, Raghunātha Bhaṭṭa would be overwhelmed with ecstatic love for Krishna. By Mahaprabhu's mercy, he experienced the symptoms of ecstatic love: tears, trembling, and faltering of the voice. His eyes filled with tears, and his throat became so choked that he could not continue his recital. Raghunātha Bhaṭṭa Gosvāmī's voice was as sweet as a cuckoo's, and he would recite each verse of the Bhagavat in 3 or 4 different tunes. Whenever he recited or heard about Krishna's beauty and sweetness, he would be overwhelmed with ecstatic love and become oblivious to the world around him. Raghunātha Bhaṭṭa surrendered himself to Govinda's lotus feet, and those lotus feet were the only thing that gave his life meaning. In time, Raghunātha Bhaṭṭa ordered his disciples to construct a temple for Govinda. He himself made various ornaments for the deity, including a flute and dolphin-shaped earrings. Wow! Raghunātha Bhaṭṭa would never speak or listen to gossip. He would simply discuss Krishna and worship him day and night. He would not listen to criticism of a Vaishnava's misbehavior. He knew only that everyone was engaged in Krishna's service. When Raghunātha Bhaṭṭa Gosvāmī was absorbed in remembrance of Lord Krishna, he would take the prasadi tulsi garland and the neck beads given to him by the Lord and wear them around his neck. Wow, so he didn't wear the neck beads that the Lord gave him all the time, but only he'd wear at special times, it seems like. Thus, I have described the power of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy, by which Raghunātha Bhaṭṭa Gosvāmī experienced unlimited ecstatic love for Krishna. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, 13th chapter of the Antya Lila. One second, I just need to, give me one second. Okay, I am back. And Kishore Krishna is saying that Gurudev would tell this story, that Raghunātha Bhaṭṭa was once speaking from Srimad Bhagavatam and everyone was weeping. One Brajvasi was not weeping, so he put chili powder in his eyes. This Brajvasi was thinking, I must serve the Vaishnava. Raghunātha Bhaṭṭa saw this and embraced him, and this Brajvasi got genuine tears. Nice. Okay. Okay, so a further description of Sri Raghunātha Bhaṭṭa Gosvāmī is also given in Bhakti Ratnakar. Okay, so Bhakti Ratnakar. As I look upon the samadhi of Raghunātha Bhaṭṭa, my heart breaks, and my eyes are awash with tears. But who is not overjoyed as soon as he hears Raghunātha Bhaṭṭa Gosvāmī's glories? He was such an expert teacher of the scriptures that even Brihaspati would joyfully cheer upon hearing Raghunāth's explanations of a Vaishnava doctrine. There is nothing to which his discourses on the Bhagavat can be compared. Even Vyas himself wishes to sit and listen to him speak, knowing that this will bring him happiness. Even the gods were astonished when they observed Raghunātha Bhaṭṭa's devotional practices. When Srinivasacharya and the devotees heard Sri Raghunātha Bhaṭṭa Gosvāmī, when Srinivasacharya and the devotees heard Sri Raghunātha Bhaṭṭa Gosvāmī glorified in this way, they fell to the ground and offered their respects. Then they continued on to the Govindaji temple. Sri Raghunātha Bhaṭṭa Gosvāmī disappeared in 1580 AD. Haribol, Nri Hari Prabhu and Papatarani Mataji. Hari Bol, 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 Nri Hari Prabhu and Papatarani So, Śrīla Raghunātha Bhaṭṭa Gosvāmī Pada Ki Jai. So now we will move on to read about Śrīla Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī Pada. If you came later, we're reading from this book, Sri Caitanya and His Associates by Śrīla Bhakti Ballabha Tīrtha Gosvāmī Mahārāja. This beautiful book right here. It's been republished. The whole book has been completely revised. It's a lot different from the original, and it's a lot more accurate to the original Bengali, and it's a lot cheaper also, a lot more affordable than it used to be. I got this for 600 rupees, which is a steal.
We got the great fortune to have Bhakti Ballabha Tīrtha Gosvāmī Mahārāja to our house. We did a program, and that was one of the gifts. He gave me cloth, mirror, incense, a holder, but the most important thing, he signed me one of those books.
Oh, wow. So you have a signed copy of that book?
Yes, but now I can't find it. I don't know if what happens. I had it downstairs in the temple room, and I think somebody must have taken it. I'm still looking for it, but it's my decided. It was what a book, amazing.
Yeah, they just recently, last Gaur Purnima, they made it available in Kindle format. So if anybody has a Kindle, or even you can, if you have the Kindle app on your phone, you can purchase it. It's not very expensive, and then you can have it all. And it's the updated one, so it's a lot more accurate to the Bengali. So, okay, so now let's read about Śrīla Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī. That's what I'm reading from right now. This is the Kindle version. I have it on my computer. Haribo Raseshwari Mataji. Śrīla Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī. Dāsa Shri Raghunathasya Purvakya Rasamanjari Amunke Chit Prabhashante Shrimatim Ratimanjarim Bhanumatyakya Kechit Ahustang Nama Bhedata. 3 different names are ascribed to Raghunātha Das from his previous identity as a Manjari in Krishna Lila. Some say he was a Ras Manjari, others Rati Manjari, and yet others Bhanumati. That's from Gaur Ganodesh Dipika 186. Raghunātha Dasa's childhood. Raghunātha Das appeared in around 1495 AD in the village of Krishnapur, which is not far south of the current railway station named Adi Saptagram on the eastern bank of the ancient Saraswati River. Krishnapur is about a mile from Adi Saptagram station and approximately 1.5 miles from Trishbika station. Śrīla Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī was the son of Govardhan Majumdar, and his mother's name is not known. Govardhan's elder brother Hiranya was childless. The 2 brothers belonged to the Kayastha caste and were primarily landholders in Saptagram. In those days, the borders of Saptagram stretched from the Jeshore Bhairav Creek almost up to the Rupnarayan River. Raghunātha Das lived in Saptagram. He lived in Saptagram, Krishnapur. His uncle Kalidas, who was also Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's devotee, lived in Shankar-Nagar. But that's a different Kalidas than the one who is who would eat the remnants of the Vaishnavas, right? Is it? I don't know. I'd be curious to know. Raghunātha Dasa's family priest, Balaramacharya, and his guru Yadunandanacharya lived in the town of Chandpur. Yadunandanacharya was an intimate disciple of Advaita Acharya and a dedicated devotee of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu who had also received the special blessings of Vasudeva Datta Thakur. After delivering the one second, just checking the comments. Oh, Kishore Krishna thinks it's the same Kalidas. It's famous for eating the remnants of the Vaishnavas. That was his main thing. Oh wow, so he was the uncle. That's very interesting then. Hari Bol Shubhananda Prabhu. Okay, so Yadunandan Acharya was an intimate disciple of Advaita Acharya and a dedicated devotee of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu who had also received the special blessings of Vasudeva Datta Thakur. Sorry, I just needed to reread that. After delivering the prostitute sent to tempt him by Ramachandra Khan, Haridas Thakur left Benapur and came to Chandpur, where he stayed with Balaramacharya. Śrīla Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī was just a young boy at this time, but he had the opportunity to see Haridas Thakur and receive his blessings. These blessings were the cause of Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī's later being able to attain the association of Mahaprabhu. Now here's a quote from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Antya Lila, chapter 3, verses 168 to 169. Raghunātha dāsa was just a little boy engaged in studies when he had the darshan of Haridas Thakur. Haridas was merciful to him, and this mercy was the reason that he was later able to attain the company of Lord Chaitanya. Haribo Mitravinda Didi and Sudevi Didi. Dandavat pranams. Raghunātha Dasa's desire to join the Lord. Hiranya and Govardhan Majumadar had an annual income of 8 lakhs coins, 800,000 coins. At that time, a coin could buy about 650 pounds of rice, which means it had several hundred times the value of a rupee today. Even though Raghunātha dāsa was the only heir to this great fortune, he was indifferent to riches from his childhood. He had his first opportunity to see Mahaprabhu when the Lord came to Shantipur after taking sannyas. As soon as he saw the Lord, Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī fell to his feet in a transport of divine love. Raghunātha Dasa's father, Govardhan Majumadar, always served Advaita Acharya with faith and devotion, and thus Advaita Prabhu was inclined to show kindness to the young Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī. He thus made sure that Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī received the Lord's remnants for as long as he remained in Shantipur. When the Lord departed for Puri, Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī returned to his home in Saptagram, but was constantly feeling intense separation from the Lord. Seeing him in this condition, his father surrounded Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī by a guard of 11 men, including 2 brahmanas, 4 servants, and 5 guards. Wow, that's pretty full on. Even so, Raghunātha tried on several occasions to run away in order to join the Lord, but each time he was caught and brought back before realizing his objectives. Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī became dejected as a result of this situation. Seeing their son in such a state, his parents were not at all at peace. When the Lord returned from Kanar Natshala to Shantipur during his attempts to visit Vrindavan, he again stayed there for a short period of time. Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī wanted to see the Lord, and this time begged his father to give him permission. Govardhan was worried about the state of his son's mind, and finally decided to let him go on the condition that he return quickly. He also sent a large entourage of guards to accompany him. When Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī saw the Lord, it was as though he got a new life. He told the Lord of his intolerable situation and prayed to the Lord to tell him how he could break free from his material bondage. The all-knowing Lord could understand the depth of Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī's feeling, and yet he tried to pacify him with the following instruction. So Mahaprabhu said, how does it go? Stiraho. This is let's read directly from Caitanya Charitamrita, because these are important verses. It is 16 to 37. Okay, let's see this. Naho Batul. 1 second, let me just open this and let me open up new tab, vedabase.io. Let's see, what verse is it? 16 to 37. That's really hard on the eyes. 237. Oops, I went too far. There. Okay, so Mahaprabhu said, sorry about the coloring is all so white. Stira hoya ghare jao na hao batul krame krame pai loka bhava sindhu kul. Mahaprabhu said to Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī, be patient and return home. Don't be a crazy fellow. By and by, you will be able to cross the ocean of material existence. Markata vairagya na koro loko dekhaya. Jatha jogya vishay bhunja anasakta hoya. You should not make yourself a show-bottle devotee and become a false renunciate. Markata vairagya means monkey renunciation. So don't. For the time being, enjoy the material world in a befitting way and do not become attached to it. Anyways, the word bhunja, enjoy. Let's see this translation. So this is Bhakti Ballabha Tīrtha Gosvāmī, the translation of this book. Calm yourself and return home. Don't be foolish. It takes time to cross the ocean of material suffering. Don't make a show of markata vairagya, of monkey renunciation, right? Because monkeys look very renounced. They live in trees, they don't wear clothes, they're like Naga Babas, and they don't seem to have any possessions. But are they actually, pure in mind? And are they? No, they're constantly looking for how to steal things and doing all sorts of crazy, like you see the monkeys in Vrindavan. So don't make a show of monkey renunciation, simply for public display. Accept whatever is required for the body and in the worldly life without attachment. Okay, now the third verse. These are important verses to memorize. Antare nishta koro, bahye loka vyavahar, achirat Krishna tomai koribe udhar. Okay, so be fixed on Krishna internally, antare nishta koro, while externally dealing with the world in an appropriate fashion, bahye loka vyavahar. It will not be long before Krishna delivers you. Oops, lost my spot. Okay. Śrīla Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur has made the following comments on the word markata vairagya. To the superficial eye, monkeys are engaged in renunciation because they live naked in the forest without any fixed home. In fact, they are only interested in their own sensual enjoyment and have never given it up. Such show-bottle renunciation is called markata vairagya, monkey renunciation. Real renunciation comes as a side effect of pure devotion and is long-standing. And other types of renunciation which arise out of frustration with material pleasures or desires cannot last throughout one's life. Because of its temporary character, such renunciation is therefore called falgu, or false. Such temporary renunciation, or monkey renunciation, is also known as shmashan vairagya, the renunciation of the cremation ground. One may accept things which are absolutely necessary in order to serve Krishna without becoming absorbed in them or attached to them. If one lives in this way, he will not be under the influence of the karmic reactions. In the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1-108, it is said, Yavata syat svanirvaha svikuryat tavad artavit adikye nyunatayangcha chyavate paramartata. That's the definition of Yukta Vairagya, right? I think so. One who knows his purpose should accept only as much as he needs to maintain his existence. If he accepts more or less than that, he will fall from the supreme objective. Sri Jiva Goswami glosses the word Swanirvaha in his Durgama Sangami commentary with the words Swa Bhakti Nirvaha. That is, a devotee should accept only those material things that will help him render service to the Lord according to his individual needs. In the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1-256, Markata Vairagya or Falgu Vairagya has been more clearly explained as follows. Prapanchikataya buddhya harisambandhi vastuna mumukshubhi parityago vairagyam falgu katyate. Falgu Vairagya is defined as the rejection of something which is related to the Lord in the understanding that it is something material. The seekers of liberation are engaged in such renunciation. In other words, it is a mistake to renounce something which is favorable for the service. It is a mistake to renounce something which is favorable for the service of Lord Krishna, thinking it to be an ordinary material sense object. Yeah, we want to see how we can use every material object in the service of Krishna. We shouldn't. And now, this is the official definition of Yukta Vairagya, I think. Anasaktasya vishayan yatarham upayunjata nirbandha krishna sambandhe yukta vairagyam uchyate. Yukta Vairagya is defined as the attitude of one who is detached from the objects of the senses, but they use them only inasmuch as they have utility in the service of Lord Krishna. Hence, devoid of selfish attachment and endowed with the ability to see things in relation to the Lord, all sense objects are then directly perceived as being Lord Madhav himself. Taking Mahaprabhu's instruction to heart, Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī returned home and gave up his desire to renounce material life in madness. And instead he engaged in his various duties with a sense of detachment. When his parents saw Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī abandon all the external signs of renunciation, they were delighted, and they began to think that there was no necessity for such a tight guard around their son. Don't we hear an example that a wife who has a paramour lover, she will do her duties at home even more perfectly, so that her husband will never come to know that she actually has a secret lover. So she'll be extra, do everything extra nicely. So in the same way, we should keep our whatever love that we have for the Lord, whatever bhakti that's developing with us, we should keep it very hidden. And externally, we should just act like ordinary people, but keep that precious thing inside us, hidden. Not display whatever little advancement we make or any little thing that we know. We shouldn't display that. We should keep it a secret. And Kishore just shared something in the chat. Let's see what it says. Sadhaner jivane yasya drishto bhavodhyay krama Raghunatam aham bande dāsa Gosvāminam prabhum. I offer homage to my master, Raghunātha dāsa, by studying whose life one fully understands the correct sequence and process whereby prayojan can be manifest. That's by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Wow, I've never seen that. Where is that from? You can let me know the source of that. That's that's really cool. Okay. Hiranya Majumdar's tax problems. In those days, there was an officer of the king with the title Chaudhary. Oh wait, one second, I'm just seeing which book that's from. Yeshua said it's from Bhagavad Arka Marichimala by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Cool. Thanks for sharing. Hiranya Majumdar's tax problems. In those days, there was an offender of the king with the title Chaudhary, or the present-day Nayab, who acted as the intermediary between the king and the zamindars. He collected taxes from the landowners and received a commission of 25% on them. Hiranya Majumdar, however, paid his taxes directly to the Shah, with whom he had a special agreement, and thus cut out the middleman. On an income of 2 million rupees, Hiranya was paying only 1,200,000 rather than 1,500,000. Since the Chaudhary was losing a large amount of commission, he became an enemy to the Majumdars. One second, I'm going to move this down here so I can see devotees' comments on YouTube and Facebook. One second. Oh, Haribo Vanksiwala Prabhu. Jai Nitai Gauranga. Okay. So, the Chaudhary was losing a large amount of commission, and so he became an enemy of the Majumdars. Ever since returning from his meeting with Mahaprabhu, Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī was practicing Yukta Vairagya in accordance with the Lord's instructions. However, when he heard that Mahaprabhu had returned from Vrindavan, he started making preparations to join him in Puri. At that time, the Muslim Chaudhary had started making complaints to the Shah about Hiranya Majumdar out of anger at being cheated of his percentage of the tax revenue. Fearful of arrest, Hiranya and Govardhan Majumdar went into hiding. When the minister came to investigate the Chaudhary's complaints, he arrested Raghunātha dāsa, since his father and uncle were not present. The Chaudhary came daily to rebuke and threaten Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī, asking him to reveal their whereabouts. Finally, he decided to have Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī beaten. But when he saw his calm, lotus-like face, he was unable to continue. In fact, though he verbally chastised him, the Chaudhary was afraid to cause him any real harm, because Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī belonged to an influential family of the Kayastha class. He knew that the Kayasthas are intelligent and could plot against him, causing him worse problems. Raghunātha dāsa himself was looking for a way to extricate himself from the situation, and spoke to the Chaudhary in a sweet voice. He said, "My father and uncle are like your brothers. The behavior of brothers is difficult to understand. Sometimes they fight among themselves, sometimes they are loving to each other. Today you are arguing, but tomorrow I am sure that you will be reconciled with each other. I am your son as much as I am my father's, and therefore you are my protector. It is not right for one such as yourself to punish his dependent. I need say no more, for you know the scriptures and are practically a living saint, a peer." The Chaudhary was affected by Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī's sweet words and began to cry as he was overcome by affection for him. He said, "From now on, I consider you to be my son. I will find an excuse to have you freed today. Have your uncle meet with me and make arrangements so that I can get my share of the revenues." Thus, Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī was able to appease the Chaudhary by his sweet and diplomatic behavior, and bring the dispute between him and his uncle to an end. In the meantime, Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī's father was making arrangements for his son's marriage to an extremely beautiful girl in order to ensure his commitment to the family. The Danda Mahotsav. A year later, Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī once again became anxious to see Mahaprabhu and repeatedly ran away from home in an effort to go to Puri. Each time he was caught by his father and returned home. Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī's mother thought that her son was going mad. She thought that her son was going mad, and she told her husband to bind him with ropes. Govardhan responded in defeated tones. He has as much wealth as Indra, the king of gods, and his wife is as beautiful as the heavenly courtesans. If these things have not been able to capture his mind, then how will mere ropes be able to do so? The father who gives life to a child cannot interfere with the effects of his previous lives' actions. Sri Chaitanya Chandra has given his blessings to this boy. Who can keep prisoner one who has been made mad by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? That's from Antya Lila, chapter 6, verses 39 to 41. While Raghunātha dāsa was devising a plan for how he would be delivered from his entanglements, he heard that Nityananda Prabhu had made an auspicious appearance in the town of Panihati. Thinking that Nityananda Prabhu was the deliverer of the most fallen, and that by his mercy he would surely be able to find his freedom, he went across the Ganga to Panihati, where he found the Lord sitting under a tree on an elevated seat, surrounded by his associates. As soon as Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī saw him, and this place, this Panihati, is, if you're ever in Kolkata, it's in Kolkata, or like it's on that. It's a very short drive to get there. It's a nice ISKCON temple there. So as soon as Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī saw Nityananda Prabhu from a distance, he fell down like a stick. The merciful Lord Nityananda Prabhu immediately had him brought close to him and placed his feet on his head. Understanding the deep-rooted desires of Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī's heart, he arranged for him to perform a service to the Vaishnavas so that he could realize his cherished objective. So this is Antya Lila, chapter 6, verses 50 to 51. Nityananda Prabhu said, "Like a thief, you don't come near me, but simply try to run away. Now I have caught you. I shall punish you. I want you to feed all my followers chipped rice and yogurt." When he heard Nityananda Prabhu's command, Raghunatha's mind was filled with joy. Let's see the verse. What is it? Chapter. Whatever. I'm not gonna waste your time. We have a lot to read. So. Okay. I'm just looking at the chat. Oh, okay. Haribol, Kishore. Oh, and Shubhanandaru has shared a quote from his Gurudev, Bhakti Vibhuti Bodhayan Maharaj. He says, "Prem chupane ka chiz hota hai." Yes. Prem is something that you keep hidden. Okay, so the festival which Nityananda Prabhu ordered Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī to put on is still celebrated as the Panihati Chira Dadi Mahotsav. Yes, and every temple, every Gaudiya Math, every ISKCON temple, everywhere, everybody observes this joyous festival where we make chipped rice. There's two kinds of chipped rice. One, and I think I'll explain it, so let's continue reading. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself and his non-different manifestation Nityananda Prabhu celebrated the festival along with their associates, eating on the banks of the Ganga, just as though they were cowherd boys on the banks of the Yamuna River. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, their associates, numerous brahmanas, and countless men and women enjoyed a feast of milk and chipped rice and yogurt and chipped rice. So they all had two pots, one with chipped rice mixed with yogurt and one with chipped rice mixed with milk, condensed milk. The opportunity to serve the Lord and his devotees in this way was something that could not come about except from some great fortune. And they also had lots of sweets and bananas and any kinds of edibles like that from all the shops. Every shop in all the surrounding areas, Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī bought everything that they had. So everybody is having, yeah. On the following day, Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī distressfully asked Nityananda Prabhu, through Raghava Pandit, how he could possibly gain freedom from his material entanglements and finds the association of Mahaprabhu. Like an ocean of mercy, Nityananda Prabhu placed his feet on Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī's head and said, "You arranged this feast on the banks of the river, and Mahaprabhu was merciful to you and came here himself to enjoy it. He blessed you by accepting the offering of chipped rice and yogurt. Then, after watching the devotees dancing, he took prasad in the evening. Lord Gauranga came here just to deliver you, and now he has removed any impediments which remained. He will turn you over to Sarup Damodar, and, making you his confidential servant, he will keep you by his side. Go home now and forget your worries. You will soon be able to go to the Lord without any difficulties." That's from Caitanya Charitamrita, same chapter, chapter 6 of Antya Lila, verses 139 to 143. After discussing with Raghav Pandit, Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī gave a large sum of money as dakshina. I don't know that word, honorarium. Anyways, we all know the word dakshina, as dakshina to be paid to Nityananda Prabhu and his associates. He himself thought as though his life had been fulfilled after receiving Nityananda Prabhu's blessings. Upon returning to his house, he never again entered the inner quarters, but remained outside where he slept in the Durga Mandap. Nevertheless, there were always guards posted near him to prevent him from running away. Raghunātha dāsa escapes. Though Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī knew that the devotees from Bengal were preparing their annual trip to Puri, he was afraid of joining them because he knew that he would easily be caught. One day, at the end of the night, Yadunandanacharya came to Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī and told him that a disciple who performed the puja had abandoned his service and needed to be persuaded to take it up again as there is no replacement. Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī accompanied his guru while all the guards were still sleeping. After walking away with Yadunandanacharya, however, Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī told him to return to his home, saying that he would go alone to the disciple's house and convince him to come and perform his duties. He told him not to worry and bid him goodbye. With no guards or servants around him, Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī realized that he had a golden opportunity to make his escape. I wonder if he, it's never mentioned if Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī actually went and tried to convince the pujari to take up his service again. I think he just made a beeline or whatever you say. He just took off.
Yeah,
Meditating.
I thought the same. I thought of the same because somebody will say this materialistic, moral peoples are all he lied to the guru, to his family guru, but we don't know the details. But whether he did or not, it doesn't matter because the highest is devotional service.
Yes, and I'm sure Yadunandanacharya could take care of it. I'm sure it wasn't an eternal problem. You know what I mean? It was something that could be managed. Meditating, and Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī was desperate. How many years? How many attempts? This is his only chance. So, I'm sure it was all yes. Meditating on Mahaprabhu's lotus feet, he started to walk toward the east. Yes.
Sorry to interrupt you, Prabhu.
No problem.
But we have a song that Bhattrini wrote about Chipdra's festival, and actually it was given to Gurudev would check all our songs. Actually, we brought everything we wrote and everything Bhattrini wrote for his approval, including that song that she wrote about Gurudev with Eyes of Blue. So for this occasion, he wrote this song. And Gurudev
wow. Would you be able to sing at the end? At the end of our program today?
Oh, you want to, Bhattrini?
I don't remember it by heart.
Oh, do you have the word?
I have to look it up.
We have to look it up because she
okay,
has
well,
that probably over.
are able to find it, then at the end, like after we finish the reading, then maybe, yeah, it'd be nice if you could sing that.
Okay.
Thank you. Cool. Okay, so meditating on Mahaprabhu's lotus feet, he started to walk toward the east. He avoided the main roads for fear of being caught, and even the smaller ones that ran through the villages. Despite the difficult routes through the jungle, he walked 30 miles on the very first day, finally taking rest in a milkman's cowshed that evening. Wow, 30 miles, through the jungle also. The milkman saw that he had not eaten for the entire day, and gave him some milk. When Govardhan Majumadar heard that his son had run away, he immediately sent a group of 10 servants with a letter for Shivananda Sen, who was already on his way to Puri with the devotees, telling him to send Raghunath back. They caught up with the group of pilgrims, but were disappointed to find that Raghunath was not with them. Meanwhile, Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī was walking at great speed towards Puri, completely oblivious to his own fatigue and hunger. Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī arrived in Puri after only 12 days, having stopped to eat only 3 times along the way, and resting only infrequently. He came upon Mahaprabhu, who was sitting with Swarup Damodar, and paid his obeisances to the Lord from a certain distance. Mukunda Datta informed the Lord that Raghunath had arrived and was paying his obeisances. The Lord told him to approach, and Raghunātha Das fell at his feet. The Lord embraced him, his heart melting with compassion for the exhausted young man. He said, "Nothing is more powerful than Krishna's mercy. It has dragged you out of the deep latrine pit of sense gratification." That's Caitanya Charitamrita, that same chapter as Danda Mahotsav, chapter 6, verse 193. Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī answered the Lord mentally, thinking, "I know nothing about Krishna. I believe that it was you who pulled me out of that hole." Mahaprabhu's maternal grandfather, Nilambar Chakravarti, knew Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī's father and uncle, and used to call them Bhaya, because they were younger than him. They called him Dada, older brother, because he was their elder and a Brahmana. Knowing that this relationship existed between them, Mahaprabhu joked with Raghunath, saying, "Your father and uncle are like worms in the latrine pit of sense gratification. They think that suffering, which comes from sense gratification, is happiness." They think that suffering, which comes from sense gratification, is happiness. Even though they believe in Brahminical culture and contribute to it, they are not pure Vaishnavas, only imitation Vaishnavas, Vaishnavir Praya. The nature of the sense objects is that they make one blind. They make one engage in activities which result in material bondage. It is not possible to properly describe Krishna's mercy, which has delivered you from such bondage. That's same chapter, verses 197 to 200. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur has written the following about Krishna's mercy and the suffering caused by the poison of sense gratification. He says, this is from the Anubhashya to verse 193 in this chapter. Krishna's mercy is more powerful than the results of one's previous activities. It was this powerful compassion of the Lord which pulled Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī out of the latrine hole of sensual existence. A living entity who is attached to sense gratification does not have the strength to give it up. For the living being who has become a pure devotee of Krishna, however, sense enjoyments are like a ditch of stool. Mahaprabhu knew that Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī was completely free from any attachment to sense gratification. Nevertheless, he said this to him as a teaching to the conditioned souls. Wow. That's a really very important point. A living entity who is attached to sense gratification does not have the strength to give it up. We can't give up sense gratification on our own. We need mercy. We need to do the positive things in bhakti and get mercy, and then we'll be able to give up sense gratification. But if we just try to renounce this, renounce that, it's not going to work. We need help. Śrīla Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Gosvāmī Thakur continues. Sense objects bring great distress to their so-called enjoyer. Even so, those whose brains are completely immersed in the objects of sense gratification and are entangled in the whirlpool of material existence consider these sources of distress to be happiness. The objects of material sense gratification should be discarded in the same way that one abandons an outhouse. And one whose mind is possessed by the desire for these objects of gratification is like a maggot who feeds off the stools in the latrine. This is how the transcendentalist sees the materialistic person who is trying to extract pleasure from inert matter. He has nothing but disdain for materialistic pleasures, which he sees being exactly like the pleasure a maggot extracts from the taste of rotting excrement. Wow, that's pretty graphic. It's from Śrīla Saraswati Thakur's Anubhashya for verse 197 in this chapter. Raghunātha Dāsa's renunciation. Mahaprabhu noticed that Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī was extremely weak, and so, after accepting him as his own son and servant, entrusted him to Swarup Damodar, telling him to take responsibility for him and to see to his well-being. From that time on, he was known as Swarupar Raghu, Swarup Raghunath, to distinguish him from the Raghunātha Vaidya and Raghunātha Bhaṭṭa. So, if you ever wanted to know, if you were around during Mahaprabhu's time and you wanted to find Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī, you'd have to ask for Swarupar Raghu, not so that they know that you're not referring to Raghunātha Vaidya or Raghunātha Bhaṭṭa. That was his name, Swarupar Raghu. Swarupar Raghunath. The Lord also told Govinda to take care of Raghunath with great affection. He then told him to go and take his bath in the ocean and to go see Lord Jagannath, after which he was to join him for lunch. When Govinda gave Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī the remnants of the Lord's plate to eat, Raghunath was overjoyed. Things went on like this for 5 days, Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī taking the Lord's remnants each day. But on the 6th day, he stopped taking the Lord's Mahaprasad. From that day on, he went to the Jagannath temple and took darshan of the Lord's flower offering at night, after which he would stand at the lion's gate, that's the front gate of Jagannath Mandir, and he would beg Mahaprasad. At night, after they had finished their duties, Lord Jagannath's servants would pass by on their way home and would customarily give prasad to the hungry Vaishnavas who waited there. In this way, renounced Vaishnavas would maintain their life. This type of renounced attitude was particularly noticeable amongst Mahaprabhu's devotees. When the Lord asked about Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī and learnt that he was no longer taking prasad in the same way as before, but begging at the Singhadwar, at the lion's gate, he was satisfied to see that he was taking the renounced way of life so seriously. He said, the Mahaprabhu said, "That's very good. He is taking the life of a renunciate seriously. A renunciate should always be engaged in repeating the names of the Lord and should maintain his life through begging. Anyone who takes the renounced order and then becomes dependent on others cannot achieve his ends, and Krishna will ignore him. One who becomes a renunciate and then lusts for tasty foods will never attain his spiritual goal and will simply become the slave of his taste buds. A renunciant's duty is to always chant the names of Lord Krishna and fill his belly with leaves, fruits, and roots. One who runs here and there looking for good things to eat becomes attached to his sense organs and his belly and will never attain Krishna." Oof, heavy. It's same chapter, verses 222 to 227. Śrīla Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Gosvāmī Thakur has underscored that Mahaprabhu's associates are extremely detached from material objects, and and that to chant the names of the Lord is the only duty of such renunciates. Examining them impartially, both materialistic non-devotees and pure Vaishnavas can see that Mahaprabhu's associates are not attached to the gratification of their material senses. They are indifferent to anything which cannot be used in the service of Krishna. Their renunciation for the transcendental service of Sri Krishna, which is unmotivated and uninterrupted, is incomprehensible to the ordinary materialistic person. When Lord Gaurasundar sees a devotee's ingenuity to engage in this kind of devotional service, completely indifferent to the sense objects which are outside the scope of his service needs, he feels great love for him. The various rituals described in the Hari Bhakti Vilas are meant for the wealthy householder Vaishnavas who are imperfect, but not for... Okay, that's interesting. The rituals described in Hari Bhakti Vilas are for the wealthy householder Vaishnavas who are imperfect, but they are not meant for those who have renounced everything to take exclusive shelter of the holy name. One who chants the holy names in the morning, in the middle of the night, in the midday, and at sunset, in other words, throughout the day and night, that person who's chanting throughout the day and night is certain to cross over the ocean of material existence. Those pure devotees who are fixed exclusively on the devotional service of the Lord and chant His names and remember Him with love have no duty to perform other than kirtan and smaran. That's Anubhashya for verse 223 of this chapter, and translation of Hari Bhakti Vilas. 20th, what do they call it? 20th Sarga or something like that. Verses 366, 379, and 382. Śrīla Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī would never speak to the Lord directly, but asked Govinda or Swarup Damodar to submit any question or request to the Lord on his behalf. One day, he asked the Lord through Swarup Damodar to instruct him personally on his duties. When the Lord heard this, he told Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī that Swarup Damodar knew far more than he did, and that he should take instruction from him about the goal of life and how to attain it. When Raghunātha dāsa's eagerness to hear from him directly did not abate, the Lord said, "If he has faith in my words, then let him follow these instructions." Okay, let's bring this up, because we should read the Bengali for this, because this is very essential verses. These are also verses that we, if we're able to, we should memorize. One second, let me just bring it up on the screen here. Okay, let me make this full screen. One second. We are in Antya chapter 6, verse what? Verse 236. 236. Uh-oh. Let's go to 235. No! Oh god, I'm sorry guys. Let's see. Let's type it in search then. Caitanya Charitamrita Antya 6 to 36. Okay, let's see if that brings it up. There. Okay, so Mahaprabhu's instructions to Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī now. Gramya kata na shunibe, gramya varta na kohibe, bhalo na khaibe, ar bhalo na poribe. Amani manada hoya, Krishna nama sada labe, vraje Radha Krishna seva manase koribe. Okay, so Mahaprabhu said, do not listen to gossip or engage in gossip yourself. You should not eat very palatable food, nor should you dress very nicely. Always chant the holy name of Lord Krishna without any expectation of honor, offering all respects to others. Mentally render service to Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan. Let's just look at that one more time. Okay. Gramya katha na shunibe, gramya varta na kohibe, bhalo na khaibe, ar bhalo na poribe. Amani manada hoya Krishna nama sada lobe, vraje Radha Krishna seva manase koribe. Okay. All right. Sorry. Let's continue on. So, the Bengali devotees arrived in Puri for Rath Yatra and met Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī, who was particularly fortunate to receive Advaita Prabhu's blessings. Shivananda Sain told him that his father had been looking for him. After staying 4 months, the devotees returned to Bengal, and Shivananda gave news of Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī to Govardhan Majumdar, telling him of his determined ascetic spiritual practices. His parents were distressed to hear of his lifestyle and sent a Brahman, 2 servants, and 400 rupees to Shivananda for Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī. The following year, Shivananda took these servants and the money to Puri. He took them with him and informed Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī that his father had sent them. Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī would not accept them, but thinking of his father's benefit, he took some of the money and used it to pay for Mahaprabhu's meals twice a month. After doing this for 2 years, Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī abandoned this practice also. In response to Mahaprabhu's question about why Raghunath had stopped inviting him, Sarup Damodar said that Raghunath had decided that since his father was a materialistic man, Mahaprabhu was not really pleased to eat the food purchased with his money. By such invitations, his only gain was some fame and status. Furthermore, he thought that Mahaprabhu was only accepting his invitations out of kindness, because Raghunath felt that he was so foolish that he would be unhappy if he refused, but that in fact he was secretly not very pleased by it. Mahaprabhu was greatly satisfied to hear this conclusion and said, this is also an important verse, when one eats food offered by a materialistic person, one's mind becomes contaminated. If the mind is contaminated, one is unable to remember Krishna. The food of a materialistic person is infected by the mode of passion, and both the person who offers it and the one who accepts it are mentally contaminated. I accepted his invitation for many days, fearing his displeasure. I am glad that he has realized all this and given up this practice on his own initiative. So that's Caitanya Charitamrita, verse 278. Let's see that verse 278. 278. That's also an important verse that's quoted a lot. 278. Here. Okay. Vishayir anna kaile malin hoy man hoyle nahe Krishna smaran. So that's a good verse to memorize also. Śrīla Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur has commented on the above subject matter as follows. He said, people who are egotistical and possessive are generally materialistic persons who try to enjoy the world for their own sense gratification. Such persons see their money as a tool for achieving such sense gratification. If they attempt to serve the Lord, the Guru, or the Vaishnavas, who are beyond the material energy and are transcendental, their only gain will be an increase in material prestige, and not the true benefits of such service. One who seeks true auspiciousness should, therefore, with full surrender, engage whatever money he has honestly earned in the spiritual service of Krishna, the spiritual master, and the Vaishnavas, So he should engage all that money that he has honestly earned in the spiritual service of Krishna, the spiritual master, and the Vaishnavas, using his body, mind, and words, and heart. That's for Anubhashya for verse 275. And now, Śrīla Saraswati Thakur's Anubhashya for verse 276. He says, certain materialistic persons who are intoxicated by high birth, riches, learning, or physical beauty may make a show of deity worship and offer the prasad from that worship to the Vaishnavas. Due to their ignorance, they are not aware that because they lack devotion, the Lord, who is beyond sensory perception, does not accept their offerings. Because of the taint of the sense enjoyer's false pride which contaminates such offerings, it is often seen that the pure Vaishnava is indifferent to such apparent service to the deity. In other words, a pure Vaishnava who has renounced the life of sense enjoyment does not accept such service. Rich materialistic sense gratifiers are so foolish because their sense of identification with the body and because their sense of identification with the body and minds. They're so foolish that they become angry with the Vaishnavas and they are offended by their behavior. Śrīla Saraswati Thakur goes on in Anubhashya 278, for verse 278. Non-devotees and Prakrit Sahajias are considered to be materialistic. Because they offer food without devotion, an aspiring devotee will be contaminated by their association through eating their food. The result of such flaws in association, such sangadosh, is that one will develop the same mentality as they. If one engages in even minimal association with materialists or sahajiyas, who are materialists in the guise of Vaishnavas, through any one of the 6 kinds of association, like we hear in Upadeshamrita, exchanging gifts, food, or confidences, with even a drop of hidden affection, the result will be that the transcendental devotional service of Lord Krishna is transformed into sense gratification, and this will cause the aspiring devotees fall down. The conclusion is that one whose mind is fixed on the pleasures of the bodily senses and contaminated by the sense objects is too impure to be able to serve Krishna through the process of transcendental remembrance, etc. Wow, heavy. So now Bhakti Ballabha Tīrtha Gosvāmī Mahārāja continues. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has also written about the rajasic character of a materialistic person's dinner invitations. He says, invitations to dinner are of 3 kinds: sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic. The invitation of a pure devotee is in the mode of goodness. The invitation of that of a pious materialistic person is in the mode of passion, while the invitation of a very sinful person is in the mode of ignorance. That's from the Amrita Pravaha Bhashya 3.6-79. There's Śrīla Vaman Gosvāmī Mahārāja has a really awesome, a really great article on this topic. It's called I forgot the title. It's the renounced person's practice of begging, something like that. Anyways, something about bhiksha. Anyways, if anybody's interested in this topic, I can share that article with you. Raghunātha Gosvāmī's asceticism grew stronger with each passing day. He stopped begging at the lion's gate and started going instead to an almshouse. When Mahaprabhu heard this news from Govinda, he asked Sarup Damodar what the cause was for the change. Sarup Damodar answered that Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī was finding that a lot of time was being wasted standing in front of Singhadwar, and he was going to the almshouse every day at noon instead. Mahaprabhu praised Śrīla Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī's decision, saying, begging by the Singhadwar resembles the behavior of a prostitute. Right? Saying, is this person going to give me? Is this person going to give me? Having that expectation from everybody walking by. A prostitute stands around and waits for some man to come and give her some business. A beggar cannot remain indifferent as he waits for someone to be kind to him. Going for going for handouts at the almshouse does not present the same kind of problem. One simply has to go at the proper time, and one receives enough to keep his body alive. This is useful if one wishes to use one's time in chanting the holy names. The sannyasi Shankarananda Saraswati sent Mahaprabhu a Gunjamala and a Govardhan Shila from Vrindavan. Mahaprabhu cherished the two objects, taking the necklace of Gunja beads to be identical to Radharani and the Govardhan Shila to be identical to Krishna. Mahaprabhu would hold the Govardhan Shila to his head, to his eyes, and to his heart, and this would bring him great pleasure. After worshipping the necklace and the Shila for 3 years, he gifted them to Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī as a sign of his satisfaction with his devotion. Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī felt honored and delighted by the Lord's gift, and taking them to be the direct representations of the Shri Shri Gandharvika Giridhari, he worshipped them with water and tulsi leaves. When engaged in such loving service, he would go into a devotional trance. After his disappearance, the Govardhan Shila was placed in the Gokulananda temple, where the Lord is still being worshipped and where the Lord is still being served. It is said of Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī's aesthetic vows that they were like lines that his vows were like lines drawn in stone. He spent more than 22 hours a day engaged in chanting Krishna's names and in Smaran with only about 1.5 hours of sleep and food. Only 1.5 hours of sleep and very little food. He spent his time for sleeping only 1.5 hours for sleep and food. He ate enough to maintain his body. He allowed no delicious foods to ever touch his tongue, and wore only torn cloth. Finally, he started going at night to gather the prasad which the vendors outside the temple threw away near the Singhadwar, after it started to go so bad that even the Tailangi cows would not eat it. He would wash it to take out the dirt with which it had become mixed, until he reached the hard core of the grains, which had not cooked. So he'd take all the parts that had not cooked. This is what he would eat, only adding a little salt. One day, Śrīla Swarup Damodar Goswami saw Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī doing this, and asked him for some of this prasad, comparing it to the nectar of the gods. Even Mahaprabhu, when he heard about it from Govinda, came and took a handful of Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī's prasad, though Swarup Damodar prevented him from taking a second. What is this all about? You are eating such, Mahaprabhu was saying, what is this all about? You are eating such nice things and not giving any to me? Saying this, the Lord snatched a morsel from Raghunātha and ate it. As he was about to take another, Swarup Damodar caught him by the hand and said, "It is not fit for you," and took it away from him. That is from the same chapter, chapter 6 of Antya-lila, verses 322 to 323. Śrīla Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī has himself summarized by Mahaprabhu. Let me reread that. Śrīla Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī has himself summarized Mahaprabhu's mercy on him in this verse called Caitanya Stava Kalpa Vriksha, the desire tree of Caitanya Mahaprabhu's glories, which can be found in the collection called Stavavali. What's the meter for this? Anyways, Mahasampadavarapi patitam udritya kripaya sarupe yasviye kunjanamapi mam nyasya mudita uro gunjaharam priyamapi cha govardhanashilam tadau me gaurango hridaya udayan mam madayati. By his mercy, Sri Gauranga took pleasure in delivering me, even though I am a fallen soul, the lowest of men. He delivered me from the blazing forest fire of material material opulence and entrusted me to his personal associate, Swarup Damodar. He gave me the cherished Gunja garlands that he wore on his chest, as well as his Govardhan Shila. He awakens within my heart and makes me mad after him. That's from verse 11 of the Caitanya Stava Kalpavriksha. And I think after we won't read about Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami today because it's we're almost out of time. So Raghunath Goswami goes to Vrindavan. Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī remained under Swarup Damodar's Goswami's tutelage in Puri, thus gaining direct access to Mahaprabhu's confidential service and association. In all, he remains there for 16 years, until the Lord and Swarup Damodar Prabhu disappeared to the eyes of this world. When this event took place, Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī felt that he could no longer live in their absence and decided to go to Vrindavan to commit suicide by jumping from Govardhan Hill. Wow, he associated with them in Puri for 16 years. Can imagine the intensity of the separation. Can't imagine, I mean. When he arrived in Vraj, he met Rupa and Sanatana Goswamis. They persuaded him not to put an end to his life, adopted him as their third brother, and kept him with them. Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami were enriched by hearing the nectarian pastimes of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu from Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī. Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī's separation from Mahaprabhu and Radha Krishna became so intense that he gave up eating solid food altogether, only drinking a little buttermilk to sustain himself. He would pay 1,000 prostrated obeisances, chant 100,000 of holy names, serve Radha and Krishna mentally both day and night, recount the glorious pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and bathe 3 times a day without fail in Radha Kund. This was the exemplary standard of bhajan set by Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī, in which he served their lordships for more than 22 hours a day, sleeping only an hour and a half, if at all. Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī's renunciation may superficially be compared to that of the Buddha, but when examined more closely, it will be observed that there are some unique characteristics in Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī's asceticism. The external meaning of renunciation is detachment from sense gratification, but its true meaning is attachment to the Supreme Person. So the word vairagya usually means no ragya, no attachment, detachment. But vairagya can also mean something like vaishishta rupena ragya, like special attachment. Something like that. I might be getting it a little bit wrong, but yeah, the word vairagya has a deeper internal meaning, which means special attachment for the Supreme Person. Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī's strong attachments to the lotus feet of Radha and Krishna meant that he was completely and naturally detached from anything which was not connected to his worshipable lords. This kind of renunciation is actual, it is genuine. Radha Kund. Sri Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī lived a long life. Srinivasacharya had the chance to receive his blessings before leaving Vrindavan to return to the east with the Goswami's books. Srinivasacharya was astounded by Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī's powerful asceticism and deep absorption in love. Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī wrote 3 books. Stavavali, that's with all his ashtakams and all that, all the stotrams. Then Sri Dana Charita, also known as Dan Keli Chintamani, and Mukta Charita. He lived in Radhakund, where he engaged in his most intense devotional practices. He was blessed there by Nityananda Prabhu's potency, Janavadevi, when she visited Radhakund. Earlier, when Mahaprabhu himself visited the village of Arit, he displayed the pastime of bathing in a rice field, by which he indicated the presence of Radhakund and Shyamakund. Until then, the two ponds had not been excavated, nor was there a proper bank. Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī thought it would be a good idea to have this work done, but the next moment he became indignant for having desired such. However, one day, a rich merchant who was on a pilgrimage to Badri Narayan with the intention of donating a large sum of money to the temple there, Badri Narayan appeared to him in a dream and told him to fund Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī's vision of a developed Radhakund and Shyamakund. The merchant came back to Vraj and found Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī in the village of Arit and recounted the story of the dream to him. Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī thus supervised the excavation of the ponds and the subsequent building of stone step walkways. 5 trees stood on the banks of Shyamakund, which are said to be the 5 Pandavas. Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī had the intention of cutting down these trees so that Shyamakund could be made perfectly rectangular. Before this could happen, however, Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī had a dream in which Yudhishthira appeared to him and told him that the 5 Pandavas were present in Radhakund in the form of these trees. He immediately stopped the workers from cutting them down. This is why Shyamakund was not built as a perfect triangle. Other legends about Raghunātha and Vraj. Let's see how much longer this is. Okay, not much longer, so let's finish this up. Other legends about Raghunātha and Vraj. Another story is told about Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī. It is said that when he read Rupa Goswami's play Lalita Madhav, he was submerged in an ocean of separation. Though he was permanently in Radharani's association at Radhakund, he was unable to tolerate even a moment's separation and was restless always. When he read the Lalita Madhav, which has separation from Krishna as its primary subject matter, this mood became so strong that his survival became even more difficult. When Rupa Goswami saw Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī's response to his play, he gave him the book Dan Keli Kumudi, which is full of humor and amusing banter, and took back his copy of Lalit Madhav. When Raghunātha read Dan Keli Kumudi, his feelings of separation vanished. At first, when staying by Radhakund, Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī had no fixed shelter. He occasionally stayed with Gopal Bhatta Goswāmī, whose cottage was situated on the banks of the Manasa Ganga in Govardhan. One day, he took bath in Manasa Ganga and then went to sit under the tree surrounded by unkept thickets, and began to worship the Lord in a devotional trance. While he was meditating, a tiger came there to drink water. Sanatana Goswami was also present there at the time and observed Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī as he remained unmoved, even though exposed to such danger. He instructed Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī to build a cottage in which to live and engage in his devotional activities. Actually, in Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī's samadhi at Radhakund, the picture on his samadhi is of him and a tiger drinking right next to him. Śrīla Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī had a special affection for a certain Vrajavasi whose name was Das. Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī's daily nourishment consisted of only a leaf bowl of buttermilk. This Vrajavasi was distressed to learn that Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī ate so little, thinking that it was impossible for him to keep alive on such a small amount. One day, when in a place known as Sakistali, he was overjoyed to see a pulash tree with huge leaves. He had a bigger bowl made with these leaves, in which he put buttermilk for Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī and brought it to him. Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī was quite astonished to see such a large leaf bowl, and asked him where he got it. When he heard the name of Sakistali, he immediately threw down the bowl. Sakistali is the home of Chandravali, Radharani's primary rival for Krishna's love. Chandravali Sakis, like Shaivya, are constantly looking for ways to take Krishna away from Radharani's bower and bring him to that of their girlfriends, to bring Krishna to Chandravali. Just as Radharani is distressed by these actions, so are her girlfriends. So are her Sakis. Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī was a member of Radharani's entourage, and so it was his role to constantly think of how to bring happiness to her and her girlfriends. As soon as he heard the name Sakistali mentioned, he was transported by anger. This mood is the ultimate stage of love, which envious people who are burdened by material lust can never understand. In the Bhakti Ratnakar, it is written, after calming down, didn't Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī chase him with a stick? He was so upset. Something like that. After calming down, Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī said to Das, that is Chandravali's place. You shouldn't ever go there. Das Vrajavasi calmed down and recognized that these were the symptoms of spiritual perfection in what was apparently a spiritual aspirant. All these devotees are eternally perfected souls. Ignorant fools cannot understand this. That's Bhakti Ratnakar, chapter 5, verses 472 to 474. There's one other extraordinary legend about Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī's... there's another extraordinary legend about Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī recounted in the Bhakti Ratnakar. One day he was exhibiting pastimes of suffering from indigestion. Vittalanath, the son of Vallabhacharya, came with 2 doctors from Ballabha to cure Raghunātha dāsa. After examining him, the doctors said that the indigestion had been caused by eating rice and milk. Vittalanath was astonished to hear this diagnosis and said, "This is impossible. This man never eats anything but buttermilk." Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī then spoke up, saying that he had indeed eaten milk and rice in the course of his meditation on the pastimes of Radha and Krishna. Sri Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī left his body on the banks of Radhakund, where his samadhi stands. This took place on the Shukla Dwadashi Tithi of the month of Ashvin. Jai Śrīla Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī Par Ki Jai.
Jai Ho. Prabhu, we found Bhattarini looked through her papers and she found a song.
Oh, great. Okay, I'll just do very quick Mahamantra and a very shortened Jaidvani, and then Bhavatarani Mataji can sing it. That'd be wonderful.
Okay. We'll both.
Okay. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Jai Rupa Raghunath, Jai Rupa Raghunath, Rupa Raghunath, Jaya Rupa Raghunath, Jaya Raghunātha Bhaṭṭa, Prabhu Raghunātha Bhaṭṭa. Jai Raghunātha Bhaṭṭa, Prabhu Raghunātha Bhaṭṭa. Jaya Krishna Das Kavi Raja, Jaya Krishna Das Kavi Raj. Jaya Guru Deva, Jai Guru Deva, Guru Deva, Jai Guru Deva. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Hari Bol, everybody. So we didn't get enough time to read about Śrīla Krishna Das Kaviraj Gosvāmī, so maybe I'll go live again at 5 p.m. and just we could read the section about him from this beautiful book, Sri Caitanya and His Associates. And now I'll just do a very short Jaidvani, and then Bhavatarani Mataji will sing for us a song that she wrote for Srila Gurudev, which Gurudev approved. And yeah. Oh, and I'm just seeing Vidya Lala's you like to see the article by Śrīla Gosvāmī Maharaj. Okay, yeah, and there's also another article by Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Thakur called Vaishnav Seva, which also is on the same topic. 2 articles.
You want
Like that.
Oh, you want to have your face?
No, it's okay.
Okay.
Jai. Oh,
Jai Hari.
Haribol.
I'm sorry, you said Jai.
Right, go ahead.
okay. Jai Shri Sachinandan Gaur Hari Ki Jai, Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Ju Ki Jai, Jai Srila Gurudev Ki Jai, Srila Param Gurudev Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga Ki Jai, Sapashachi Gaur Nityananda Prabhu Ki Jai, Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopigan Ki Jai, Shri Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai, Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki Jai, Jai Śrīla Raghunātha Bhaṭṭa Gosvāmī Ki Jai, Śrīla Raghunātha dāsa Gosvāmī Ki Jai, Śrīla Krishna Das Kaviraj Gosvāmī Pad Ki Jai, Tadiya Shubha Tirubhav Titi Ki Jai, Shri Caitanya Charitamrita Ki Jai, Shri Swaparshad Gaur Hari Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Samagata Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. And also Srila Bhakti Ballabha Tīrtha Gosvāmī Mahārāja Ki Jai, who wrote this beautiful book. Jai. Hi. Vrindai Tulsi Devai, Priyai Keshavashacha, Krishna Bhakti Pradadevi, Satyavataya Namo Namaha, Vancha Kalpatarubhyashta, Kripa Sindhubhya Vacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Dandavat pranams, everybody. Thank you so much. For now we have the fortune to hear this beautiful song written by Bhavatarani Mataji. So, thank you.
You want to see her or?
Yeah, I mean it's best if it's possible. Yeah, it's nice, best to see the
Video.
Oh, it says that you disabled it.
The video.
I disabled video. Oh,
Yeah.
1 second.
That's okay.
No, I got it. Now see it. Do you see it now?
Let
Okay.
me see. Let me see.
Okay, great,
Thank you.
Now,
Oh, that light is right on.
perfect.
okay. Turn off the light. So I don't know when I wrote this. I think I might have written it for a puppet show when Prabhupada was still on the planet. But we sang it for Gurudev on the day of the Chip Rice Festival in near San Francisco, Vrindavan's house, Richmond. And he liked it.
Great, wonderful.
On the bank of the Ganges, under a tree, Lord Nityananda sat blissfully. Oh, Raghunath, you are a thief, Lord Nityananda said. Grabbing him, he placed his lotus feet upon his head. Make a festival of chipped rice, kheer and dahi, then distribute it to all of the devotees. 2 pots, 1 of each prep, he began to deliver. The crowd was so large, some stood waist deep in the river. Then by meditation, Gaur Hari tied it call. When Gaur Hari appeared, he could not be seen by all. The 2 brothers began to take some from everyone, feeding it to each other, enjoying the fun. Lord Nityananda shouted Haribol to all who came. The universe was filled with chanting of the holy name. Everyone who heard about it came to join the fun of the chipped rice festival that Raghunath had done. Chipped rice festival, Nitai is merciful. Chipped rice festival, Nitai is merciful. 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 Chipped rice festival. Nitai is merciful. Nitai is merciful. Nitai is merciful. Nitai is merciful. Jai. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Jai! Wow, that was so beautiful. That was a delightful song. Well, thank you so much. That was a real treat at the end. Thank you. All right, that was, yeah, thank you so much, Hari Prabhu and Bhavatarani Mataji. That was really wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, so Dandavat Pranams. If you want to hear about Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, then come back at 5 p.m. India time. Yeah, otherwise I'll see you all tomorrow. Tomorrow is the day before the disappearance day of our Param Gurudev Śrīla Bhakti Brigyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj. So maybe in preparation for that day, we can read something about his glories. And there's so much to read about Param Gurudev, unlimited amounts. So yeah, so we'll read, and then the day of Purnima for many devotees, for me and like many the followers of my Param Gurudev, and like that we begin our Chaturmasya on that day instead, not Akadashi. And so yeah, so I'll be starting a new program also on the first day of Kartik, a new Stotram program. New set of stotrams. So if anybody would like to join that stotram program also, that will start at 5:15 in the morning, every morning, India time. Actually, no, the stotram program starts at 6 in the morning. So if anybody would like to do that during the month of Kartik, and then we will read from the book Sri Damodarashtakam by my Śrīla Gurudev. We'll start reading from that book the day after tomorrow. Or no, the day after that. Yeah. All right. So thank you so much for staying, and yeah, see you all soon. Hare Krishna Shah Sharmaji, and everybody watching. So many devotees. Nidhi Hari Prabhu, Bhavatarani Mataji, Shubhananda Prabhu. Let's see, Raseshwari Mataji, Vidya Lalasa Didi, Prajumna Prabhu, Mantramurti Mataji, Ganga Mataji, Mitra Vrinda Didi, Sudevi Didi, Vangsiwala Prabhu, Vidya Lalasa, Shah Sharmaji, and everybody else. I see there's more devotees also. Dandavat Pranams. Hare Krishna.
Dandavat for glorious to assembled devotees. Raghunātha dāsa.
Oh, Gurudev said about the song, he said, oh, it has everything in it. It's like, I didn't think it did, but, it was real short, and he said even though it was so short, it had everything in it.
Wow, beautiful. That's wonderful. All right. Haribol. Vidya Lalasa Didi says, wow, that was so beautiful. Thank you, Bhavatarani Mataji and Hari Prabhu. All right. Hare Krishna, everybody. Dandavat Pranam.